Finally, Sal, at long last, the soccer mom has her very own scandal. How are you today, Sal? Looking good.
Hey, Jason, I wish we were doing this walking somewhere in South Florida, but you had to return, back to the cold and soon to be very snowy New York City, where a lot of stuff is going on up in the upper echelon of the NYPD and just in general. And Jason, like I've been stating numerous times here on Crowdsource the Truth and Sal Greco's show, the media or the mainstream media perceives the soccer mom, Police Commissioner Jessica Tish, like she's the savior and crime is down. And forever I've told everyone and you what was really going on. And eventually the scandals were going to catch up to her, and the mainstream media just can't ignore it. And in the last couple of weeks, Jason, it's just a monsoon of stuff that's happened that it's no wonder at today's press conference with Mayor Mamdani for the snow emergency that's coming.
Yeah.
You do notice that every commissioner that's there, OEM, the FDNY, all sanitation, all the commissioners are there, but there's no soccer mom, and there was no one visibly there from the NYPD that could answer any questions. Because as you know, the police department will be responding to incidents that occurred during a snowstorm. So what's going on? Why wasn't the police department there? A lot of embarrassments going on. City Hall got involved with things. So you're going to start the soccer mom could keep going all her favorite radio personalities and doing all that nonsense. The truth is the police department is a mess the way it's run from the very top, and it's all trickling down finally.
Well, let's back up a second, Sal, because there's going to be some people who haven't been following you on X at the Sal Greco, and they haven't been watching your show. They've not yet subscribed to the brand new today, the salgreco.substack.com, and those people are not up to speed. Just before we get into all the details, I do want to tell everybody that you and I are starting a new show today. And let me get your Substack up here.
That's right. I mean, I enjoy doing so many walk and talks. I wish that could be the mantra of the show, but it's only if we're in the same geographical location. But
right.
I say this, I was telling Jason this the other day, back when I was in the NYPD, this was during the height of the pandemic and everything starting to happen. Me and my partner were in the car, and obviously I would have to, I was in the 45th precinct. We were giving coverages to other commands that needed it because not enough officers, there were officers that were either sick or they were being sent out to places. So we would go on YouTube and we would find Crowdsource the Truth, and we watched Jason all over New York City showing things like those infamous, I believe they were the trailers that were in Bellevue Hospital, which I saw with my own eyes back then when I was an officer. So I think no matter what you think about Jason personally, I like his work, and through his work, there are many things that have come true, and there's many things that you could look at, and whether you don't agree with him or not, you'd say, he's making a good point. I like what he says, and that was true. So I think it's natural that Jason, who's a hardworking, investigative journalist, myself, who I'm a freedom fighter, and, I might be a little new to things, or maybe I'm not, but I like to do things on a fact-based analysis. Why not us try to do something together? That's my logic here.
Yeah. And so that is going to be our new show on Fridays. People are going to be able to tune in. We're still working on getting your Substack completely up to speed. People can subscribe on thesalgreco.substack.com. This was my fault. You need to have a stripe account in order for the monetized videos to play. So people can
Correct.
still subscribe to Sal, and we're going to do a sponsor exclusive video right after this introduction because Sal has some incredible information to share with us. And Sal, you know, I think this Substack is going to be a great resource, not only for you, but for viewers of the Sal Greco show, people who follow you on X and on YouTube and on TikTok, on Rumble. You're all over social media now. You are growing. I hope that people will subscribe. Well, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. How come people can't subscribe to you on X? We got to get you doing that also. People can follow you there, but somehow they can subscribe normally, no?
I think you have to set all that up. Like I've never done that. I usually just, I like posting things, and I usually go to YouTube where now the Sal Greco show is on my own. I have my own YouTube channel. I stream the show Mondays and Thursdays at 11:05, and I could post there as well. So I would kind of funnel all this information from X over there as well. So if you don't see it on X, you would see it on YouTube. I also have Instagram. You can see it in the stories on Instagram on The Sal Greco or The Sal Greco Show, and the same would be on TikTok. So usually, there's different ways, and I like to spread it out to all different platforms because I'm sure someone who's on TikTok may not want to use X, who doesn't like the guy on YouTube, who doesn't want to be on Instagram. So, I mean, it's like you're trying to reach as many people you possibly can in all different aspects because not every aspect likes to be funneled into we'll say one product X or one product
Exactly.
Instagram. So you need to spread it out, and that's what I'm trying to do now. So I never had a Substack. I never did anything like that. But maybe it's a better way to communicate with people, and maybe people want to do one-on-ones or ask questions that I don't answer or say on the show. And since it's on Substack, you can't use it anywhere else. It's only there. So maybe that's a better way to try to communicate with people, and also whistleblowers, because I am a fan of whistleblowers because there's a lot of whistleblowers out there, and they're frightened, Jason. As you know, you can't speak without being retaliated against, especially in the New York City Police Department or anywhere. And these municipal agencies and government agencies are tyrants. So, and the employees get abused. It's just the same thing as a regular job. So I try to be
worse,
their
I
voice.
would say, Sal. Hang on a second now, because you're speaking from firsthand experience. People who maybe are seeing you now for the first time. Let's be honest. I basically twisted your arm on the Substack because I want you to be able to earn money from these shows. Look, everybody right now, Trump is doing what he can to improve the economy, told all the rich billionaires at Davos how great the economy is doing. I got back to New York, yogurt that I buy for breakfast is normally 99 cents. It's $1.29 now in just 3 months. So things are going up, and I'm sympathetic to our viewers who have the same issue, but I think that is to say, I hope that people will value the information that Sal brings, his unique experience in the NYPD. And when he's speaking about retaliation, he is speaking firsthand. Sal was kicked out by the corrupt Eric Adams, and now the best way for people to support Sal is to go to salgreco.com, tap on that support tab, and you can send him some money. When the Substack gets going, you'll be able to subscribe on Substack. I will help you figure out how to get subscriptions going on X, because I want to see you, Sal, flourish in this field of journalism. You are absolutely knocking it out of the park this week. You've had a number of stories deep from the belly of the beast at the NYPD. You are not internal affairs, obviously, but from the outside, external affairs peering in. And by the way, affairs seem to be what the NYPD is doing best. If they spent as much time fighting crime as they do banging the female officers, we might have a safer city to live in. What is going on this week?
There's a plethora of news, Jason. It started, when you and I were last speaking, we were talking about placards, right? Of course, the placards were missing. There was that fiasco. And then that very night, when you last saw me in Palm Beach on last Friday, I don't know how to describe it. It was a party at this place called the DL, which, the down low. It's on 95 Delancey Street. It was the chief of department, Michael LaPetri, his party. And the guy is just out of control, very handsy with the female subordinates that are in, this video of this. I know everyone wants to see the video because that would probably be the nail in the coffin for the soccer mom once and for all. But it doesn't stop there. But this incident did occur, and the soccer mom was there and basically told him, grabbed him, and, told him he has to go or left with him. But her being there is not good because she's a witness to basically, fraternization is suspension. She's not doing anything about that. And she was there. And there's so many witnesses to this. It's not
Wait.
me.
NYPD is there having a fraternizing party in Palm Beach? Why are they all in Florida?
in Manhattan, in lower Manhattan, on 95 Delancey Street.
When I left Palm Beach.
Yes, you left Palm Beach. And this
so
place,
on the DL, they're feeling each other up at the club.
Which is ridiculous because you can't be doing that. As you know, fraternization is not allowed. I mean, I've seen police officers that they just assume they might be going out together. They might have a relation. We don't know. Well, we got to transfer that guy because that guy, we're assuming, whatever. Then that wasn't the case. But, this is what they like to do. They're very vindictive and they like to throw their weight around. And then we find out about internal affairs. Now, recently I don't know if I told you about, there's a group there, Group 1. That's the exclusive group that investigates chiefs and lieutenants and anything that's really, really important. And also works with that clown group that was investigating me, saying I was an insurrectionist, Group 24, I believe. And so Group 1, we'll say whenever the Christmas tree, which you're not really supposed to have up, they put up a Christmas tree in their office, right in they have a couple of cubicles, and there's a door. Right behind this door was this Christmas tree. And on this Christmas tree, the ornaments they put faces of their targets or people that they had terminated or charged with things. And there were all kinds of faces of people that they were investigating or had investigated, which is a big no-no. And this picture was in a group chat, in a WhatsApp chat, that ended up landing in the hands of the chief of internal affairs, Edward Thompson, who's a lifer in NYPD. By the way, he was chosen to be in that position by the soccer mom, Jessica Tish. She put him there to replace Miguel Iglesias, who was a consofrito guy and covered up all kinds of mishigas with the deputy commissioner of EEO, Wendy Garcia, Jeffrey Madry, and the whole crew prior. So she handpicked this guy to be the chief of internal affairs. So Group 1, somehow they had this WhatsApp chat. In this chat, there's a picture of this Christmas tree. He didn't like that because obviously you're not supposed to be doing that. He sent it to the soccer mom. And there's also an investigation in Group 1 where the inspector, the former inspector now, the CO, Ficru, was in charge of investigating this Richie Taylor guy who's a community affairs deputy chief that he was saying he was working from home. No one authorized this. He's out in Israel or wherever the hell he's going all over the world, and he's showing up that he's working in the NYPD. I don't know who's authorizing this. So there's so many questions with that guy. So that investigation was basically being tanked by the soccer mom. So Ficru, who was the CO, the commanding officer of Group 1, he ended up leaving, saying, it's because I can't do my job investigating Richie Taylor. When no, it's because of the Christmas tree. He took the fall, Jason, but that wasn't even true because it was someone else in the office that actually put up the tree and these ornaments with all these faces, and they're making fun of everyone and think it's all funny. And fun and games ruining people's lives. Now,
wow.
What we didn't know is in this office, the chief of internal affairs, Mr. Thompson, who is this hand-picked person from the soccer mom. Prior to being in internal affairs, he was in what's called the sanitation interagency. He was the liaison from the NYPD. It was a little office to the sanitation department, which at the time was Jessica Tish, the soccer mom. She was the commissioner of sanitation. So he was working there, and this detective, this first grader, Joanna Zayas, she was working with him in this agency as well. Now, she made detective or specialist in 2015. She made the second grade in 2022. In 2024, she's the first grade. And there's no, from where we could see, you could look up her history. She was never in an investigative unit in order to get grade, meaning detectives have to be in units. They have to be in precinct detective squads to make grade. Third grade, second grade, first grade. You don't just go from third to first, and we don't even know how this even happened. So there's that part. But, Jason, they've been in a, we'll say, relationship or whatever it is. They've been spotted leaving hotels together. And this is from witnesses. It's not me. I don't know these people personally. They were seen leaving hotels. Everyone in internal affairs knew about this, knows what's going on here. I mean, it is even more, it gets even more further because in this office, 3 people, when I mentioned this, I believe it was Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, 3 people from internal affairs immediately went to the pension section and they're retiring. And the most infamous one is Lieutenant Moran, who, guess what? He is the lieutenant for the chief of internal affairs' office and is the direct supervisor to this detective who, there's questions here, Jason. Overtime. What was she doing for overtime? Was she going around with this guy, going to hotels? There's a lot of questions in the office in regards to what she was doing for overtime, and that lieutenant would have to answer all those questions, unlike the previous scandals, because when you're a subordinate, you're just a detective or a cop or a sergeant, you need a lieutenant or the next rank above to be the person who's authorizing this. So clearly that question would go to him. Or, I don't know, maybe he saw something that he didn't like, or they're trying to get ahead of the storm that's coming, because these are the questions that are going to come. Jason,
but hey, Sal, hang on one second, because this sounds a lot like what was going on with Jeffrey Madry. Wasn't
Correct.
He also having some sort of sexual relationship with a female officer who he was giving overtime to?
Forget about it. There's many. One that he was clearly, if it's not even abuse, it's you do what I say or else kind of, it's almost like when you're victimized under something and these people, they're under your thumb, it's over. So he had one person under his thumb, and he had a whole bunch of other women all over the place. The guy is just known for this as the chief of department. But here you have the chief of internal affairs, the hand-picked chief for this unit, having his, quote unquote, girlfriend, friend, whatever. This is a fraternization that shouldn't happen in his office that everyone knows is open. Everybody knows about it, and nobody says a word because they're afraid of being retaliated against, because you know what happens when you speak out, as we've seen, over and over again. But that's not where this ends, Jason, because his executive officer, Mr. Bartholomew, he is having fraternization with a principal in internal affairs, a civilian. So you got the guy running the place with his piece there, running around, driving him, God knows what, no one's asking any questions. And then his executive, the other chief, who's underneath him, his second in command, he's doing the same thing with the principal. So you got a brothel running out of internal affairs, what it looks like. And the soccer mom who's supposed to say, I have this under control, that I'm the savior, I'm this, she never came from the culture. And the other question here would be, Jason, does she know anything of what is transpired? Was this transpiring underneath their nose? Was she just playing, the blind eye? There's a lot of questions here, but she this time has to answer for it, because these are her hand-picked people in this unit. And it's disgraceful. This is internal affairs. These are the people, Jason, they're the ones doing value judgments on an officer. They're the ones that take these investigations and decide, yes, no, I'm going to investigate this person, or I could destroy them. And look at what they're doing. You can't be judging others when you're living in a glass house. Or you might have people in your glass house that shouldn't be there, but that's what's going on. And but this, to me, it's not a surprise, but to many probably who either listen to this for the first time or think otherwise, the soccer mom, you should know you're having a wool pulled over your eyes. And, this is a major scandal. And I understand now, as of this morning, City Hall is now aware of these allegations and is looking into the whole entire situation because, again, this makes the mayor look like what I've said. He's a novice. He doesn't know what's going on. We saw his press conference. Clearly, someone's missing there, right?
Yeah. The soccer mom is not there at all. I mean, frankly, they're all novices. This is what happens when people who are in charge have no idea what they're doing. The soccer mom is a soccer mom because perhaps she's well suited to driving a bunch of people to a soccer game, but that's about it. We should add, this is an artificial intelligence image. This is not surveillance footage of, Mr. Thompson and Zariah. This is just something I made up to illustrate the idea. But as you said, there are eyewitnesses to this fraternization. And Sal, you got jammed up by internal affairs. Didn't you tell me that they were like surveilling you or something like that?
Yeah, to the point of what happened to me with their obsession, which we see that there's obsessions with people. They vindictive people. When you're out and you're saying, I have to, show me the man, I show you the crime. That's what they were trying to do with me. Obviously, they had me wrapped up saying, you're Roger Stone's bodyguard, blah, 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 blah. There's no evidence of this. There's no money being taken. They don't care what I said. They don't care that there's no evidence. They got to create evidence of something. So they would follow me around, Jace. They sent a guy to follow me around at least 4 times. This guy documented it. And one of those times, unfortunately, was the time I left my home at the time when I lived in Staten Island to go to Pennsylvania. On the final day, I would end up being the final day of my father's life, who ended up passing away in the hospital from brain cancer at a time when there's a pandemic. You can't go in there. Oh, my God, you need a mask. Oh, no, who are you? Spread this. Go wash your hands. You couldn't even see my father, who's in his last hours. And outside the window, there's this stooge in internal affairs in his car. Follow me for what? And in the paperwork, it said, because I might attempt to go see or speak to Roger Stone. I had to work that night. Pennsylvania was less than an hour away from my home, and my father is dying. I'm not driving to Florida to come back to work. I'll never even make it. For the ridiculous stuff that these people are doing. These are vindictive, hypocritical people. There's people you need to investigate, and now you need to question that too, because you can't have these kind of people doing investigations on police officers thinking they're high and mighty when you look at them and we're saying to ourselves, Jason, what the hell's going on? It's a public safety issue as well, because you have all kind of fraternization going on underneath the soccer mom who said, I'm here to clean up the police department. Remember, she didn't even want to discuss anything. She didn't want to discuss anything that happened prior to her arrival. Like she's above it all. No, you're not. You're actually letting it continue and are involved in one instance with your chief of department.
But hang on a second, Sal, because you just said something important. They're following you. They're admitting that the reason that they're following you is that you might go see Roger Stone. Like, what is he, the kingpin of crime, sitting up there ready to bomb the city? I mean, so what? If you went to see Roger Stone, I mean, you've got Letitia James hanging out and smiling with what's his name, Rodriguez. Jimmy Rodriguez, the mob
associate, self-admitted criminal.
Yeah. They're not investigating that.
No, they're not. They're not. They won't, because he was, there's a problem here. It's like a party atmosphere. It's been going on in the culture for a long time. When I was a police officer, I never partied with I did not want to be around other police officers doing anything. No bars, no drinking, none of that. And that's why some people like that I was like that. Some people hated me because I'm not part of their crew or whatever. I'm not Joe Cop. I'm not the locker room guy. I came there. I want to do a job. That's it. The job is policing, right? Either you got to write people a summons, you got to try to save the day. Maybe you're going to correct their condition. Maybe you go to their store and make them feel good because there's people harassing them. This is what we're worried about. I'm not worried about internal nonsense. There's all kinds of Joe Cop talk. I don't care for that stuff. I care about changing You know how you change the culture? By putting it on blast and forcing them to deal with things and changing the way they run things. Because as you know, going back to the Dutch rattle watchers, and then later on in the spoil system, the merit-based system, all of this stuff, which is spoil system, what they use, and the civil service system, it's all being abused. They abuse the spoil system, which is what they're doing right now, as of right now, this very minute. And this should be something every cop, no matter, whether you want to think about this stuff or not, this all affects you. It all affects you, because how do you go to work? You go to work and you got to worry about, you do your job, you're doing the right thing, and then, I don't know, you come in 2 minutes late. This woman has transferred people for the last year for coming to work like 5 minutes late. Maybe you were driving into the detail. So, they had this whole thing in the summer. They were sending cops to different details. It's very hard for somebody who lives in the Bronx to, let's say, go all the way to, I don't know, Staten Island for something, but you want to send these people there, and then they get there not at that time because you need a vehicle to go, which is an NYPD vehicle. There's traffic. No, I'm going to transfer them because I can. Like, this is the kind of stuff that went on. And then you look at what they're doing and go, how is this fair? This is anything but fair. You're living under an oppression. It's the oppression going on in the upper ranks of the NYPD. And, I understand people, she's doing a great job. And I know they want to play the religious card, the race card, all this nonsense like you were doing. I thought the city, I didn't forget that they were saying the city's going to be under Sharia law under this mayor. I haven't seen anything like that. So remember that one? That was running around for months, that little narrative. What do we have here? What makes Jessica Tish such a great police commissioner when she has no idea about anything in the police culture? She never wore that uniform, and her decisions are just, you look at that and, she's going out to dinner, right? When a guy burglarized the 2-3 precinct, walked in and took the commanding officer's jacket, his insignia.
We got to talk about that. But hang on, you're going a mile a minute here because you just said something else really important. That might be the most soccer momish thing. Here she is out to dinner with Sid Rosenberg or something. Okay. But the most soccer momish thing she's ever done is punishing police officers for being late. That's like, go to bed with no dessert from the soccer mom. But when there's all this like real department violation stuff, she's not doing anything. I mean, punishing somebody for being late is like kindergarten level stuff.
This is stuff that, it's not even, you won't even want to admonish someone. They tell you what happened. Okay. All right. Then you just go back to where it is. So what? You're missing one guy, or one guy makes 5 minutes more overtime. Things happen. You expect the unexpected. In New York City,
particularly in New York, traffic, you're going, like you just said, people might not realize it. The Bronx to Staten Island could take 45 minutes, could take an hour and a half. You don't know.
It could be a lot more than that, depending.
Let's talk about this, because this was crazy. Well, sorry, this is not the same one. This is a guy is escaping and nobody knows. And then you also had somebody broke in and stole police uniforms.
Yeah, this is one. It's like a 1-2 punch. That incident in the 7-8 precinct that was a juvenile. And I know this precinct very well, Jason. If anyone's followed my career, you see some of the awards behind me. I was a DWI specialist. That's what I did. I even in the precinct, I had a lot of DWI arrests. In fact, at one point, I was the number one guy for 2 years in a row as far as DWI arrests for the entire department in the city. So I know the 7-8 well because that is where the IDTU room is, which is the intoxicated driving testing unit. That's the room. You would go there. We got to turn the camera on, and I got to offer you the breath test and all the coordination tests in that room. So the 7-8, I mean, that was like my home away from home. And right down the street is the courthouse, my other home away from home. Because no matter where I was assigned, Coney Island, Crown Heights, Manhattan, that was where I was with all the arrests. The majority were in Brooklyn South, and then a lot of them were also in Manhattan. But that precinct, I know, when you walk in, first of all, I could tell you from that video, you walk in, there's a little gated area. The gate is it's not easy to even open that gate. It's an old precinct, by the way. The old C summons court is in the back of this place. It's how old it is. It's a historic building. So, and it was once bed bugs there all the time. And that's another story. But when you walk in, that gate, you see this gate? That gate you're seeing him trying to crawl towards. That gate is almost, you don't know how hard it is. You have to open that with like centrifugal force. It's like,
But couldn't you just
it's
jump
not easy.
over it? It looks low.
It's low, but here's the thing. The desk is right there. There's a sergeant, a lieutenant, or
Where
someone
is that
always
guy?
there. And there's a TS operator to his left, which would be his right there. Now, that officer you see come running out, all right? That hallway, that is the way to the, we call it a muster area, or, it's another area there. That blue room you're seeing, right there. Actually, that's one of the offices, but that blue room is the juvenile room. And what you do is when you have a juvenile, you have to keep them handcuffed to the rail at all times. At all times, and have somebody watching them. You have to.
But what happened here?
I don't care who it is. Someone has to watch this person. If it's the damn guy on the desk, the sergeant. To the right of that room is the 124 room, which is where there's a lot of computers. There's civilians working, doing paperwork. You could go in there as a cop and do your paperwork. But the juvenile room also has a desk and a computer. So you could watch the juvenile as you do paperwork or talk to them, whatever. And you await whoever it is. They got to go to Spofford. Their parents are picking up, whatever it is. This, unfortunately, incident is no one's paying attention. Someone should have been at least watching this juvenile. The desk, the sergeant, whoever's lieutenant was there, they have to be also watching them or having someone watching them and being attentive at all times at the desk, because now that's an escaped prisoner by the book. And unfortunately, there's a mishigas with that. But there's a shortage everywhere, Jason. I'll tell you why.
Wait,
Police...
what do you mean when the guy escapes? I mean, isn't that a worse crime if you escape while you're in police detention? Aren't you now getting charged with something else?
You could be charged with the escape, and also the officer that was supposed to be watching you or whatever, or whoever's supposed to be watching those people, they could be, bit disciplined, suspended, modified, because that's called inattentiveness, failure to safeguard a prisoner.
Benny Hill video.
Yeah, well, then we'll get to the other one. But the problem with this is that there's a shortage in police officers everywhere with the precincts, and it's not your personnel, because I know I could solve this easily, one easy way. You hire more civilians. The civilians take all the administrative roles, the majority of them, there's a lot of them they could take. And that would mean all those cops that are doing administrative work go back out into the precincts, and now you could restack all these positions that are not missing. So the head count, even at 30,000, is manageable if they're not all doing inside jobs hiding from the street, because that's a lot of them want to do. Don't want to be administrative. I'm not allowed to be in the street. But the real problem here is they take the personnel from these precincts and they're flooding transit. Every day they send whoever it is from each tour to go to transit, and they're working in transit for the day. Why? Because the soccer mom wants to help her friend, Kathy Hochul, who wants to be reelected as governor, saying, I lowered the crime in the transit. MTA, the NYPD, look what I did. Crime is down. Do you feel safe? You should. You have all these cops down here. Meanwhile, that's far from the truth, because all you're doing is depleting the precinct personnel that have 40 radio runs, meaning there's 40 calls that they're holding. They can't get to 911 calls because there's nobody working. There's 1, 2, 3 cops running around trying to do everything when there should be 6, 8, 10. But you're taking 7 of them and throwing them in transit for the day because I guess the soccer mom and political aspirations matter more than public safety. So that's the majority of that problem is that. Obviously, the inattentiveness is another problem, because you can't do that no matter what. And you need to have personnel manning these positions, because it's very important, because you can be either disciplined or get suspended, lose your job, be modified. All these things can happen to you if you don't, you have an escaped prisoner, or as we're going to see in the next thing, someone walk in and burglarize, take items out of the commanding officer's office, which is outrageous stuff. But this is because, once again, people are inattentive, one, or you're taking things for granted, which you cannot, all right? And you also have to have the personnel. And it's a two-folded, a two-part, question and answer. Because one, you could have more personnel if, one, you add more civilians, you civilianize all the administrative positions, or the majority of them. Those officers that are doing the administrative work go back into the field. They fill in all these empty spots of all these people that retired and all this nonsense they keep crying about. And you would have your precinct full once again with cops. And on the other end, okay, if you don't have the personnel, you're not being attentive, you need to at least notify the borough, which, if, let's say Brooklyn South, 7-8, that precinct should have called Brooklyn South, hey, I don't have enough personnel for today because I have to send 7 guys. Oh, well, you know the deal. All right, I know the deal. And you write this down, because after that incident, as the sergeant lieutenant at the desk, you show them in the command log, here's the piece of paper that says, you said I should know better. I notified you. That's all you need to do. And I would hope that that's what's going on, because that could kind of save certain people. But this one, it's also failure to secure your gear, which they teach us in the police academy. Secure your gear. That's what they tell you. Why? Because all that stuff that perp walked out with and was passed out in NYCHA in one of those buildings with, that stuff should have been in a locker. I don't care, you're commanding officer. You know better. Because
Sal,
could happen.
Isn't this one of the most embarrassing and stupid possible things to happen? It makes the entire NYPD look incompetent, that some dunce walks in off the street, steals the uniforms. I mean, it's like out of a movie. He's going to dress up like a cop and go start doing what?
Well, he once tried to take an ESU truck in the past.
This guy, Matthew Williams?
Yeah, the same guy that walked out with the commanding officer's sweater also tried to, commandeer an ESU truck at one point. I mean, he's not all there, but at the same time, you can't, that incident cannot happen. It cannot happen. That's telling the public, and it is a public safety problem, because what you're saying is, I can't even protect my own building. What makes you think I'm going to protect you or your family? That's what that's telling a New York City resident, And again, Mr. Mamdani, I mean, you're the mayor. You're no longer some guy running for office. I still see him with the word salads. You are now the mayor and have to make executive decisions as the CEO of the largest corporation in America, like the swagger man with no plan used to say. That's you now. You're the mayor of New York City. This is outrageous stuff. I'm sure crazy stuff happens all over the United States and all over the world, but you've had a bunch of incidents now up until this morning. You line these up and you say to yourself, what the hell's going on over there? Because you pride yourself on being elite and you're the best and the greatest and the strongest. And you're anything but that. You show weakness, ineptitude, incompetence. And then you just go on TV and then you have disgraced former chiefs run out there throwing what? They're trying to throw shade on things and everything is great when they were part of the problem or still kind of in the mix, in the shadows. That, I've never seen anything like this. If this was a company,
to the bar and feel up their coworkers. This is all the stuff the guy stole, right? Look at this. There's a lot of equipment. And now what are these challenge coins? Are these like Kaz Daughtry parking placards? I could use one of those. Maybe I'd call this guy.
This is bad. He took this is embarrassing that this would even happen. It's embarrassing. It's laughable, but embarrassing. And it shows that when things happen at night, you don't have enough personnel, you're not paying attention, something like this can occur. And it's just embarrassing. And it shows that very night that happened, Jason, the soccer mom was having dinner with one of those, your favorite media personality there, right? And one of the two unidentified people, we know who it is. We know exactly who it is. And by the way, tell that person to return their parking plaque, because that's actually a crime. Why didn't they do a 61 report for that placard that gentleman still has for his car? Mr. Big Mouth. So, Mr. Tough Guy getting sued everywhere. How do you like that Dr. Phil documentary? You saw that one too, Jason, right? They're getting sued for that one. There was a kickback with that. I mean, it's ridiculous stuff that these clowns were doing. It's just like,
They're so stupid that they put this on. So where did this come from? Soccer Mom Instagram, or why is she doing that?
See,
so this is the night they're robbing all this stuff from the 23rd precinct. She's out to dinner with this guy.
She's out to dinner with him, and I'm telling you, one of the unidentified people that they didn't want to say was there is a former disgraced chief that was there, who has in possession of a parking placard still, by the way. So just so people understand, that this is like, it's just infuriating. You got to think, I speak to a lot of people that they feel hopeless on this job. They're not chiefs. They're not, they're hardworking. The regular cop you're going to see on that corner, which was once me, right? A long time ago, that was me, right? And they have cries for help, and they don't know what to do, what corner to turn to. You can't speak out because they're going to retaliate against you. What do? You're trapped. You got to worry about your money, your family. Do you really want to put yourself through this fiasco? Because I surely wouldn't. That's just me. I would rather. I'd rather go sweep the floors somewhere, than do this.
You and I, we were joking about some of this stuff, but something like this guy, Matthew, what's his name, robbing the police precinct, it sends a signal that is, frankly, subversive to peace in the city and law and order, because it makes the kind of police officers that you're talking about think that the executives and the management are incompetent. It makes criminals think that the NYPD is incompetent and they can do whatever they want. Yep. And it just makes everybody totally unsafe. So this scandal with the internal affairs having their own affairs, do you think anything is going to happen to Jessica Tish, Sal? What are we looking at? Is she going to be removed? I mean, it's not like Mamdani can competently put somebody else in there. He just has her there because she's there, or she's friends with Hochul.
There, and I hear this other rhetoric. Oh, it's going to be a political backlash. No, she is not cut out for this job. She doesn't understand that culture. But again, the guy or the person waiting in the wings wouldn't be much better. I'm just letting you know right now. It's not the people that you think either. There were names being thrown around. Those aren't the names. You would hope that one of those names would become the police commissioner, but that's not what would happen. So it's like they want to make this a political thing, who they put there and who they could control and make it all political. When if you run this with a guy or a girl that comes from this culture, you'll be better off. Obviously, you're always going to have some form of corruption. I don't know what kind or how, deep it goes in the police department, just the way it is. But you want to try to clear up as much as you can of this stuff. And you want your worker bees, the rank and file in the street, you need them out there working and at least having their morale and smiling and feeling that camaraderie that they had 30, 40 years ago in order to keep what they say. You want crime down, you want people to be prideful or care, then you need to treat them like human beings, which is something this woman doesn't know how to do. And just judging, not even judging, look at what just happened in the last couple of weeks. And it was more this morning because like I put out, you got a sergeant driving the wrong way on the Taconic Parkway.
Drunk.
And, killed someone, DWI. And in that following the protocol, we got to wait for the toxicology report. What wait? What, for the fatality or for the DWI? Because I'll tell you the procedure. You go to hospital and you offer them that test, whether it's a coordination test, you offer them if they want to draw their blood for a DWI test. If they say no, it's a refusal, and you still have a DWI arrest, and it's still a felony, by the way. So what are we doing? And by the way, right now, I heard that she was modified. She should be suspended, by the way. So that's another thing that's breaking news on that front. And it was the state police, not DCPI, not the New York City Police Department, that answered me back when I inquired about what had just occurred there. And they were nice enough to even give a press release and let everyone know. But that wasn't going to happen because they released this, I believe, at 10:40 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and I released the details at 9:40 in the morning. So sorry, anyone out there trying to say I don't like to pat myself in the back, but I beat a lot of you to the punch, and I'm the reason that they even put this statement out there. At least they were honest enough to put a statement out there. And then you had your latest. You look at the last post. You have someone in the 7-7 precinct, was a lieutenant, just got demoted to sergeant and got modified because allegedly they're having sexual interaction or sexual contact with a confidential informant.
Whoa.
Inappropriate. And this confidential informant has some kind of evidence and apparently presented this to investigative bodies. We'll put it like that. So this, everywhere you look, it's like, get a grip. If you had a leader from the top and you had real leaders that weren't too busy partying and fraternizing and doing all this other stuff, maybe some of the employees on the bottom, they would show some pride and wouldn't do some things that either disgrace themselves or others. In some retrospects, criminal acts. In other retrospects, they're hanging out with the worst of the worst. God knows what's going on in certain areas of the Bronx, per se. But, in the end, the mayor, those people at City Hall have to make a decision here. And the decision is, do you keep this person in charge where clearly they're in way over their head and they're not cut out for this and they have major scandals, no matter how the media tries to spin it? How do you handle this? And oh, by the way, Letitia James is now in charge of that investigation that just happened in Westchester County. If you didn't see, yep.
Oh wow.
That her office is in charge of that because that's how that goes.
Wow.
So it's you're gonna see. I don't want that woman in charge of anything. I don't know if she knows what's right from wrong. Who knows?
Certainly
Does she know
not,
what to do?
mean,
If she knows what the right thing to do is, I don't know.
No, but this is important for people to remember, Sal. You had this image, and frankly, anytime you look for this image, it's difficult to find except for your post. So people should definitely be following you at the Sal Greco on X. And what we'll do is after we get your Substack fully set up, we'll revert to our sponsor exclusive format. We're just going to stay here on YouTube and everything today and keep talking for another few minutes. But starting next week, we'll do the sponsor exclusive shows. Correct. So I definitely encourage people to go over to thesalgreco.substack.com, sponsor Sal on there, and we're going to do the standard Crowdsource the Truth format because it's important for people who are doing the kind of work that you're doing. You cannot get advertising sponsorship for this kind of stuff. You start exposing wrongdoing by people like Letitia James and Eric Adams and even higher up the chain, the people that you and I and other people who come on Crowdsource the Truth talk about. They take away your YouTube channel. They reduce your reach even on X. It's amazing to see people spewing nonsense seem to go 50,000, 100,000 viral all the time. You and I have been struggling to get these numbers up and get the word out to people. So I hope that people will sponsor the show so that we can keep it going. It's year 10 of Crowdsource the Truth, Sal. And I'm glad to have you join with a sponsor exclusive show. But just getting back to Letitia James, it sends a bad message. Cops, everybody knows that she's hanging out at Consofrito. She's not, if the Attorney General isn't doing the right thing, even if you don't know about this kind of inside baseball, that you are absolutely the top in terms of bringing that out with regard to the NYPD. Even if people don't know about that, you see it in the Trump prosecution, in the failure to prosecute criminals. And you know what? It trickles down. Rudy Giuliani and the dearly departed Commissioner Carrick, they had a broken windows policy where, if all of these jackasses riding their bicycles on the sidewalk knew they were going to get their skulls cracked for doing that, it wouldn't progress. I'll ride my bicycle, no one's going to do anything. I'll punch an old lady in the head, nobody's going to do anything. I'll steal a lieutenant's uniform from the police precinct, nobody's going to do anything. We're baby stepping up to terrorism. Somebody dresses up like a cop, you could induce somebody to do all kinds of things.
Yeah, there's got to be a way to do it. You can't be too heavy-handed, and you can't be so lenient. You got to find a happy medium. There was a lot of times I let a lot of people go. You'd be surprised because, you see my record and go, wow, this guy in the job on the NYPD, they would tell me, you're a hammer. But yeah, you're a hammer to a certain degree because you always end up finding that one guy that was drunk, or the 5 kids that shouldn't be hanging out in the park, or the guy had a gravity knife. Things like that always occurred. But you can't be so heavy-handed because you're going to encounter in the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in your career. And people also they need a break in life too. And if they get that break, that could change their life too. I've grabbed guys, I'll be honest. They might have had a little, they had a joint. They were smoking marijuana. Instead, I snuck up on them and saw them, and they knew what could happen. And I says, you throw that away or whatever. And I would see this guy in the neighborhood, and he's like, every time he shake my hand, he goes, I swear, I got a job. I do this now. Like, I'm not doing anything anymore. You like things like that because that means you're having a positive impression. People think that I focus on negative things, right? Instead, that's not what I want to do. I want to bring out the best in people, not the worst. It's the worst kind of people that you need to shine a light on because either they change their ways or forever are held accountable for just being a dark soul. Like Eric Adams said, you're a dark, sick person. If you're a dark, sick person, you need to be held accountable, right? I don't want to focus on what's negative, but what's corrupt and what hurts people, that's what needs to be highlighted long before. And we could pat people on the back all day and have this whole party. He's great. That one's great. Yeah, we get like baseball. Mickey Mantle was great. Joe DiMaggio was great. Tom Seaver was great. Yeah, but the Mets just traded away someone that was, that's a horrible move. That's going to really hurt us. Like, I focus on, you have to, if you're going to change this culture from inside, especially from inside, you got to change it from the bottom up. In this instance, it's the bottom, it's the top that has now become a cesspool. And it's all like drowning, it's coming down from the roof down. That has to change because that's the real problem.
Speaking of that, Sal, a lot of people want to hear your opinion. You posted about this. This guy, Michael Fanone, he was Metro PD, Washington, D.C., not U.S. Capitol Police. What did you think about this? His behavior, his presentation in the congressional hearing yesterday? Pretty disgraceful, I thought.
Listen, this guy's a disgrace to the badge. He's also a disgrace to my people, Italians. I don't know who this guy is. I never saw him, but he's a liar. He perjured himself numerous times, and people trying to. It's funny how certain people, whether they're Democrats or Congress people, but usually on the Democrat side, they happen to love those two guys for one day of work, but they demonize every police officer in the country every single day for before and after that certain day. And look, I don't like what I saw that day, but there's a lot of factors that happened that led up to that and was going on as this happened. And as much as we could blame Joe or John or Officer Jane and Officer Jack and federal agent, everything that happened, you should learn from that and move on. I'm not saying we need to forget about what happened and all that stuff. But, this guy has been living on one day thing that happened for 5-6 years now.
Well, he's friends with Robert De Niro now. I have questions about this guy. There's another image of a person walking with a Confederate flag who looks exactly like him. Additionally, I don't want to get into, look, I'll do it. People know I don't like Ivan Raiklin. He has done, this is not me watching him on podcasts and deciding I don't like him. I attempted to hire him as my attorney, and he violated attorney-client privilege in a deliberate effort to get me put in jail, to violate a restraining order that was wrongfully brought against me. And I have my questions about his integrity. I have a lot of questions about what happened on January 6th. I think January 6th was a big, gigantic trap set up to jam up people like you, Sal, and it has jammed you up, even though you didn't do anything wrong. And so
I didn't
when I
even
see
go.
this,
The first
right.
time you see me at the Capitol will be the next time you see me at the Capitol will be the first time I was ever there. I've never been there.
But just in terms of being
never
in
been there.
Washington, D.C. on the day, they still tried to jam you up. The whole thing was a big incident and I have reason to believe that Ivan Raiklin was part of the jam up. You know what? When I saw this, them fighting and this Fanone guy cursing at him and giving him the finger, I mean, how this guy does not have the proper disposition to be a police officer if he can't even wait until he walks outside of this room to scream and yell at Ivan Raiklin. I mean, what kind of a lack of control? How did this person ever become a police officer unless, and this is what made me think of you, this is WWE right here. So I'm going to rip you in half, meatball, you know, and then they're going out for lunch after this.
Yeah. And, you know, I got to say this, though. I do know Ivan. I've interacted with Ivan. I've been in events with Ivan. I like the guy. I just, you know, I'm not best friends with him, but I do have interacted with the guy. I don't know all of his work. I mean, some of the things I read, I got lost to some of the things he would post, but that guy, Fanone, doing that, listen, it does look like it is a WWE moment, but again, it's very unprofessional as well. You could just wait to do that outside of the halls of the in the Capitol. You don't do that. You don't do that inside. You know, he should know better. But he was. I mean, he says he was a cop. Just because you work there doesn't mean you were a cop.
Right.
If you know what I mean. Ask Dan Bongino that question. And this guy falls under the same manner. I mean, he called. What did he call? He was cursing at my friend who's a reporter. You know, I wonder how you treated people that you arrested. I really wonder how you did that, because you definitely seem like you're a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic. I'm just seeing from afar. Anytime you've been either asked something, you know, I understand people fly off the handle too. I mean, if you ask me the same thing probably 20 straight times in a row, I might finally go, okay, enough. But he does that almost right away. So that's an anger management issue, which some cops developed it, but at the same time, was he doing this during his career? You know, that's what I'm saying. I mean, these guys in Congress love to glorify these two gentlemen as if they were, you know, cops of the century. I think one guy, I don't even know what he did, the other guy. There might have been 2 zeros for all I know when working. But, you know, they glorify these two people for one day, less than 24 hours worth of any kind of work, if there was any that they did. Yet they demonize everybody who's working out there, including ICE, whether you like them or not. You know, they do a service, whether you like it or not. But they're being demonized right now because of one incident that occurred, when you should just narrow it down. Leadership has to take a bigger, stronger role. Kristi Noem, I'm sorry. You know, I don't know what this woman's doing as head of Homeland Security, because she certainly doesn't have any answers. And
she's the federal soccer mom.
Yeah, she might be the soccer mom of the federal agency, because she has no clue what's going on with Homeland Security, and that's what's leading to a lot of this stuff. You have people that are not trained properly, don't know the tactics, and then you see what happens out there. They don't even know the Constitution, the laws. They're just telling these guys, go out there and do this. You know, this is what happens. And again, it's the leadership. And you could, I don't know, you want to blame Trump. I don't know how far this goes. I mean, Trump has no idea about law enforcement stuff, but I'm sure that he is like a manager being told by some trusted people in the administration, we have this under control, Mr. President. And they run around and do rogue things like you're seeing right now. Some of that stuff in Minnesota is not good, what they're doing. They know it's wrong, but they're going to tell these guys to do it anyway, because who's going to stop them? I'm the federal government. And this is what people have to be worried, because you and I agree that a smaller government is better. These guys love to make things bigger. I like to make things smaller. But, you know, that's where we have differences of opinion, I guess, with other people. And then they'll try to come with their favorite trollers or whoever it is, who's ever next, to try to say Jason's this and Sal is that and all that.
Well, and I don't want to put words in your mouth or set you on some side of an Ivan Raiklin beef, but I do want to defend what I was saying about him. I don't know if you've seen this clip. This was at the second Butler, Pennsylvania rally. Let me just play this for you real quick. Here we've got traitorous asshole Ivan Rakelin.
Hey, what's going on, Jason?
How are you, Ivan? You're not going to mention something that would cause me to submit a bar complaint, are you?
No.
Why did you do that?
Why are you still dwelling on it?
Because you tried to get me put in jail.
No, I didn't.
No? Why
That's
did
what
you
you
try
think.
to violate a court order? I tried to retain you as my attorney. You learned everything about the case.
You can continue
and
to
then you
dwell on stuff that
deliberately
is
tried
important
to
to
violate
you,
a court
and you
order.
can go completely
Why did you do that?
nutso
Why did you
and lose your
deliberately
cool.
try? I'm not losing
You're
my cool.
very intellectually sound,
Why
and you
did
do
you
good work,
deliberately
but you get
try
so
to
emotionally
violate?
unstable,
Just answer the question.
and you try to escalate and escalate
Let's answer the
unnecessarily.
question, Ivan.
So
Why?
if you want to continue to go down that path, you can do that without me standing next to you.
Why did you
I offer it
deliberately
up to
try
you.
to violate a court
Okay.
order that would have put me in
I have a
jail?
First
Ivan? Why
Amendment.
did you do that?
I have a First Amendment right, and I
To
can
violate a
talk about.
court order? That's
I
an
don't
ethics
have a court
violation.
offer.
You're an attorney.
I don't have a court
no,
order,
I
buddy.
do, and you read it. I tried to retain you as my attorney.
If
You
you
and I
wanna
had
keep digging your
attorney-client
hole,
privilege.
please, keep
What's the
digging
hole?
it.
We had
bless you.
attorney-client privileged
I have some other
conversations.
people to meet.
You violated
I'll see you on the inside.
attorney-client
Let's talk on the
privilege.
inside.
You're going to get disbarred for that.
Let's go on the inside, okay?
Oh, you're really funny,
All right, sweetie.
Ivan. You see that special invitation? That's going to get shoved up your ass, stupid, and you are going to get disbarred. The reason I wanted to play that, Sal, not only because I find it incredibly humorous, but it's taken on new meaning after what we saw yesterday, because I do think that Ivan has training. He was a Green Beret, and I do think he has training in kind of like psychological operations. He was saying to Fanone, notice how I'm maintaining my composure and you're going crazy. He was trying to do the same thing to me, but it wasn't working. I turned it around on him. As soon as he said, I have a First Amendment right, that's where he slipped up. Notice he didn't deny violating attorney-client privilege. He tried to make an excuse for it, saying that he had a First Amendment right. What he did specifically was, when he knew he was on a live stream with me, he mentioned Nina Jankowicz's name after what I allege is an unconstitutional restraining order was placed against me. I say it's unconstitutional because it said handwritten notes from the judge that were added after the spoken order and the written order in court. She hand wrote on there, not even allowed by a third party to mention Nina Jankowicz. Not allowed to mention her. And he knew that, and he blurted out her name on my live stream. First, he teased it by talking about the disinformation diva, and I said, no, we're not going to talk about that. And he said, oh yeah, Nina Jankowicz. And when I asked him, why did you do that? He didn't say, hey, I'm sorry, I was joking around. I didn't realize I hadn't read that order carefully. He's a subversive guy. And I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to convince you or make you look bad, but for people who are watching this right now, I want them to understand my opinion as to what we saw yesterday. And I'm just not sure that this was anything other than an attempt to make Ivan Rakelin look like a hero. I mean, look, he's going viral here today. All these clips all over the place. Democrats who like Michael Fanone are not going to change their opinion about him. No. They just think that Ivan is a rabble-rouser. People who like Ivan, you know, I have to tell you, when I saw this and when I saw him initially making Fanone go crazy, I said to myself, I don't like Ivan and I don't trust him because he did try to get me thrown in jail. But that was good. And as I think about it more, I mean, what was he saying to me? He's like, oh, you know, why are you so hung up on something that's important to you? I mean, if somebody tried to get you thrown in jail, Sal, would you just get over that? They maliciously attempted to harm you in that way? That would have destroyed my life.
I would have definitely tried to get an answer from him, but you know, I've spoken to Ivan plenty of times, and the way he spoke, the way he's talking, he does that with regular people. That's how he talks, and I know he might also try to be. I mean, he knows the camera's on. He might try to be a little bit of a showman because I mean, it kind of again, it looks WWE-ish is the best way to. If you follow WWE and you start paying attention to everything going on around you, you're going to start to say, yeah, he's right. I've seen a lot of
One
that.
difference,
I see that
though.
on WWE.
One difference. Ivan didn't know that I was going to be there in Butler, Pennsylvania, and I didn't plan any of that. He had time to think about, and he's at all of these hearings. I don't know, all these attorneys have nothing to do. Most attorneys that I know are very busy trying cases and busy schedules in court. This guy's sitting in congressional hearings every day of every week. Every hearing, he's back there with his bald head and his Ferengi countenance. And here he is just beefing with Michael Fanone. I don't know. Perhaps we'll find out more about it in the future. But Sal, it's been a great show today. Next week, we'll be back with a sponsor exclusive, and people are going to be able to subscribe to you. People can go right now and subscribe on thesalgreco.substack.com. We'll get the monetization set up on there. We'll start doing deep dive videos. People will be able to support you there. For now, people can follow you on X at @thesalgreco. Great place to keep up with everything that Sal is doing. And of course, everybody can go to salgreco.com and click on the support tab and send you some money over there. It's important that people support Sal. You know, this is all day he's working on this, making shows and following up with leads and things like that. So if you appreciate Sal's reporting and his commentary, please visit salgreco.com. Support Sal. Anything else you want to say, Sal, before we wrap up today? We got a big snow weekend coming in New York.
Yeah, you got the snow and I got the heat, but I mean, you just left here too. You had the heat. You could have had the heat today, Jason. You chose to go back in a snowy, which I fully expect Crowdsource the Truth and a special snowbound exclusive on Saturday and Sunday. So I expect him to be on the. I don't know if he's gonna be in the High Line because you might trip because it's all icy, but definitely
They might close it.
Yeah, that might close it. Which again, that's one of my bucket list things. I have to go on that High Line sooner or later. But if you can, please, the Sal Greco Show, follow that on Rumble, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Rumble and YouTube. You'll see the shows. You'll see me, the live shows and also segments, also any video tidbits I throw out, news bits. I'll probably be putting one up in a little bit. So you could go on there. Also, I have posts. So if you don't catch me on X, I will put what I post on X right here in the post button. And you'll see things that I put. If you missed, you don't want to go on X, you don't know X, I will put things up on here. So you catch everything that's going on in, in the world of the Sal Greco shows. I do get a lot of news, a lot of tidbits, a lot of stuff. So there's a lot to happen in the future. Also, shout out to Jack, who's my producer and co-host and wingman, and he does all the things behind the scenes with the Sal Greco show, which you saw right here on Crowdsource the Truth last week. And I'm looking forward to everything. It's just things aren't cheap, man. You could only put so much out of your own pocket and until you're completely depleted. So, and I'm still finding my own cases, but I don't do this to try to be like the world's richest man. I sincerely want to help people, and I think I have, especially in the police department. I hope I change the way the culture runs, because that's what needs to be done. And I still care for public safety and the people back home, back in my old home in New York City. And of course, you never know, we might show up and do walk and talk someplace else in the United States. But I always have fun here, Jason. I just wish we could do it again, walking around here somewhere in a nice pier, seeing one of those seagulls or the pelicans come up to you.
Yeah, the peer review series. Me too, Sal. It was a lot of fun seeing you in Florida, and thanks to everybody who sponsors Crowdsource the Truth and made that road trip possible. You can do that on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Don't forget to follow me on X at JG_CSTT. We'll be back soon with Sal. Have a great weekend, Sal. Don't get too much sun. I'll be here, cooling my heels in the snow. Thanks for watching, everybody. Stay warm. Have a good weekend.